Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to Embrace the Question. We are in our Bible Study with Me series, and we're still in Genesis, finishing up Genesis chapter 19. If you're new, welcome. You can certainly start with us anywhere. Pick up right along with us starting now, or you can go back and start out with Genesis chapter 1 and binge those if you like. Personally, I like doing that kind of thing on a quiet evening where I can kick back in my easy chair and just listen to something good, something that does not complicate my thought life any worse than it already is. I don't like much drama, especially when I'm trying to rest, so I don't seek it out. I get into the Word when I can. So welcome and subscribe if you are not. Let's get into Genesis chapter 19. Before I start that, I will say that we have discussed the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, which is a story of intercession, really, very much starting with Abraham and the famous bartering that goes on between him and his visitors, one of which is God himself. To which he says, surely you will not destroy this city, Sodom, if there are 50 people in it, right? And God says, no, I would not. And the bartering commences. Abraham goes all the way down to 10. Surely you would not destroy this city if there are 10 there? And that is where it ends. God says, no, I will not destroy it if there are 10. But at that point, his two helpers leave. Now we know that those two helpers are angelic hosts, and they are apparently the destroyers. They are the ones sent to render judgment upon the city if they cannot find the 10. Well, it goes from a daylight scene where they are having their conversation to a nighttime scene where they arrive in Sodom. And that is, while factual, it is also purposefully written to show that, hey, things aren't so bright down here in Sodom. It is nighttime now. It is evil. And we spent all of the last video explaining that, to which the angels had to get Lot and his own out of the city. What did that tell us? Well, it told us that there were not 10, for one. There were not 10 people. In fact, Lot had trouble getting even his immediate family out. He got his daughters out, he got his wife out, but she didn't get very far before she turned, and against the command of the angels, she looked back and became a condiment. We all know the story of the pillar of salt. One of our viewers, she brought up the very interesting juxtaposition between Lot's wife, who becomes a pillar of salt, and Christ, who became sin for us on the cross, both becoming something against their very nature. I'm going to have to explore that. That's very provoking. That is the reason I love to do these and present them to you, because you're always given that kind of feedback, and that's amazing. That's what broadens the picture. And the more pictures we can put together, the more resolution, the more understanding we have of what's going on in Scripture as a whole. All right, let's get on now with the rest, and I think the final piece of Lot's story. All right, from the ESV, here we go. Verse 30. Now Lot went up out of Zoar and lived in the hills with his two daughters, for he was afraid to live in Zoar. So he lived in a cave with his two daughters. Let's stop. Can we just stop and let me unload this as I get it here? Zoar is where he asked to be allowed to run. the angels were ushering him out of the city of Sodom, him and his family, and they said, "Run for the hills." And Lot said, "Well, that is seemingly a long ways for us. How about maybe we just run over here to this small city of Zoar? It's just a small city. Would you let us run to this small city?" Like he's wanting the angels to spare it for a reason, unmentioned, unexplained. So the angels said, "Yes, you can run there." And then they named the city Zoar, which means small. "I can do nothing till you arrive there. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar." Let's just do a little Bible study in here and take a look at the meaning of Zoar, which is little. It is but a small city. So Lot was allowed to run there, but apparently he is not getting along with the populace. Something makes him want to leave. He was afraid to live in Zoar, and why should he not be? He was just in another city in the plains, and things did not work out. Perhaps it's because he recognized, my neighbors here are not any better. These folks are liable to reap the judgment of God just like my last neighbors did. So maybe I should go ahead and be proactive and move my family out. That's what Lot, I think, is contemplating here. So he leaves. Verse 31, "And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in to us after the manner of all the earth." Okay, they're worried they're not going to get husbands. There are no people in the caves, right? There are probably not any good, suitable men in Zoar. It was just a small city. So to them, the world is now a small, uninhabited place, and they're worried about ever having children. Verse 32, "Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she arose. And all of God's people said, "Ooh, this is maybe not one of the better stories in the Bible as far as what we teach our kids. But this is where two very prominent enemies of Israel came from. This offspring." So let's keep reading. "They made their father drink wine. He did not know when she came in, did not know when they left, or when she left. The next day, the firstborn said to the younger, Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, that you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father." I find it really interesting that these young ladies, I'm assuming they're young, Abraham was 100, right around the 100-year mark. Lot, his nephew, may have been in his 70s. Could have been. This is, in my mind, a young man, but perhaps he wasn't. That could have put these girls in their 30s, in their 40s, even in their 50s. Who knows? None of that is given to us. So we are left to surmise. But they don't have any problems getting pregnant, do they? It's just like, if we do this, we're going to get pregnant. Wow, that is not the way things are today. So they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus, both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. An incestuous relationship, unbeknownst to Lot, the righteous. Okay? This should give us all hope. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. The younger also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami, or in your translation it may say Ammon. Okay, Ammon. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. It is worth checking out the meanings of these names. Moab. Av, you probably recognize as father. So Moav, from father. From father. Moav means came from father, okay? He is both the father and the grandfather of his child. And the younger, Ben-Ami, and we will see, son of my people. So similar in meaning, son of my people. Ben is also son, and Am is people. Son of my people and from father. We can then sum it all up by saying Lot's story didn't end all that well. He did propagate, but not in a very godly way. And in so doing, two offspring become very great enemies of Israel. Both Moab and Ammon were big problems for Israel all through their journeys to the Promised Land. In fact, we can set this story up next to Noah's story. Remember, Noah got off the boat. What happened? He got drunk, planted a vineyard, harvested it, had a lot of wine, laid down, and something went down with his son Ham, who transgressed against his father. Let's just put it like that. What happened? Cursed be Canaan. So out of the first two instances of complete drunkenness, we have three of Israel's greatest enemies created. Cursed be Canaan, so we have Canaan and the Canaanites. We have the Ammonites and we have the Moabites. There you go. That is an interesting thing to consider. All right, that was the very short end of chapter 19. So let's proceed into chapter 20 and see what it offers. We already know, I think, that we're about to meet a man named Abimelech. Or at least referred to as Abimelech. This may not have been his name. It could have been his title, but we're not sure, so we're just going to call him Abimelech. But not much time has passed, okay? How old is Abraham? Right around 100. How old is Sarah? Right around 90. Let's keep that in mind. From there, verse 1, from there Abraham journeyed toward the territory of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur, and he sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah, his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. She's 90, folks. She's 90. She, by her own admission, has already called herself shriveled up. That was a couple of chapters ago during God's visit to Abraham's home. I am old and shriveled up. Well, apparently she wears it well, because this woman was sought after. And this should also ring a bell, right? This also happened over 2 decades prior. 2 decades ago. To Egypt, and Pharaoh took her to be in his harem. Now Abimelech, 20 plus years later, sees 90-year-old Sarah and says, wow, go get that woman, bring her to me, I want to marry her. This was a very nice looking woman. Let's just put it that way. She's my sister. Abraham is making up stories again. Not really a story, because here's where we find out. She really is his half-sister. In fact, all of Israel comes from Abraham's father, Terah. All of Israel, the entire chosen people, originate from his father, Terah. Okay? Therefore, it's not a big stretch, really, to marry your half-sister. It's certainly been done many, many times at this point, and is not uncommon. So he's not lying. But he really should perhaps have more faith at this point in his life, in his walk, in his knowledge of covenant. She is my sister. So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, I love this. You are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. Now Abimelech had not approached her. So he said, Lord, will you kill an innocent people? That should echo to you. That should sound a lot like what Abraham said to God about Sodom. Lord, far be it for you to sweep away the righteous with the wicked, right? This is interesting stuff to me. Behold, you're a dead man because the woman whom you have taken, she is a man's wife, and Abimelech had not approached her. So he says, Lord, will you kill an innocent man here? And I love the Lord's response. Well, we'll get to it. Did he not himself say to me, she's my sister? And she herself said, he's my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands have I done this. And God said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you have done this in the integrity of your heart, and it was I who kept you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. Wow, man, that is really amazing. That is amazing. Why is that amazing? Because this man is the king of the Philistines. The Philistines were not the chosen people. They were not God-fearers, not God-followers. But here is a man that was operating in the integrity of his own heart. And you might even say that because he was dealing with a covenant man, Abraham, God was merciful to him. That, to me, is definitely provoking. I would like to mull that over a bit. I know that you have done this in the integrity of your heart, and I kept you from sinning against me. So in the previous case, we have Abraham who is interceding for Sodom. Now we have God who is interceding for Abraham. Isn't covenant beautiful? This is what happens. I did not let you touch her. Now then, return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, so that he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. This whole household thing was for real. This salvation comes to you and comes to your whole house, and destruction can come to you and come to your whole house as well. So Abimelech rose early in the morning. I'll bet he slept well, not. And called all his servants and told them all these things, and the men were very much afraid, these Philistines. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, What have you done to us? And how have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? You have done to me things that ought not to be done. He's right. He's absolutely right. Let's go. Verse 10. And Abimelech said to Abraham, What did you see that you did this thing? And Abraham said, I did it because I thought, there is no fear of God at all in this place. He was wrong. And they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, though not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And when God caused me to wander from my father's house, I said to her, This is the kindness you must do to me. At every place which we come, say of me, He is my brother. So this is all premeditated. It's planned from fear. And then Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male servants and female servants and gave them to Abraham and returned Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before you. Dwell where it pleases you. Folks, that's called favor. That's plain and simple favor. It sounds a whole lot like Israel leaving Egypt and plundering Egypt in the process. It seems like Abraham can do no wrong because he's in this covenant. Everything, even when he messes up, he leaves wealthier than when he arrived. That should set us on fire a bit inside. My land is before you. Dwell where it pleases you. To Sarah he said, Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. It is a sign of your innocence in the eyes of all who are with you, and before everyone you are vindicated. Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech. So God healed Abimelech and also healed his wife, his female slaves, so that they bore children. So this was something that made the women barren. For the Lord had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. That's quite a plague and very serious in that culture of your offspring being your future. Your offspring was your wealth in so many ways. It is an odd plague because this is exactly Sarah's issue, right? She has never been able to have children, and to this point in our story, she still has not. So she's standing there watching this and wondering, wow, this is very much like I have been, unable to have children. And while I'm glad to see that innocent people are being healed, I still have not had my promised son. These are things that are just fascinating to read about. What would these people have thought? Well, that is the end of Genesis 19 and all of Genesis chapter 20. Thanks for hanging in there with me. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? How many of you have ever gone this granular, this detailed on a Genesis study? Would love to hear. And if you have any ideas, anything that I missed that should be brought out, please leave it in the comments. Love that stuff. Okay? Guys, have a blessed week, and until next time, peace.